I'm most excited about this because this is what I do. Every painting you see around me is oils. And although I trained in acrylics whenever I was at university and in my master's, oils are my love. They're where my professional artwork comes to life, and I'm really excited to share that with you. And one of the other things that I've become really trademark for is I use palette knife to make pretty much everything that I make right now, every painting that I make. So I'm really delighted to be able to share my tricks of the trade with you, and also just to get you excited because so many people have never used palette knife before. So the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need your canvas, okay? If you don't have an easel to put it on, I suggest that you have a hook on the wall, something that means that it doesn't move too much, because whenever we're adding the oil paint to it, we'll be moving back and forward. When you're using palette knife, there's a lot of motion, so you want that to be secure. Oils are really detrimental to your clothes. This is what I paint in all of the time. So that is why I am using gloves for my hands and why I'm using this boiler suit, which was my dad's boiler suit. You can listen all about that on my website, which tells you why I still paint in that. He died whenever I was younger, and it's just a real part of everything that I do in the studio. You will need your palette knives. Even if you only have one palette knife, that is better than none. This palette knife is what I use whenever I teach art workshops and art lessons in the studio. It was possibly £1, £2 in the works, but you'll be able to get them online on Amazon, and they are really good. They are just as good as this is one of my professional ones, which is a wooden handle, and it's a wee bit more flexible. You'll find that these are too flexible. This one has just about the right amount of flexibility. So what you will need is you will need your canvas. You will need clothing of some sort. Even an apron like this is good. You will need your gloves to cover your hands. I often would paint without them, but it's just easier for me when I'm jumping in and out of the studio to have gloves on and to take those off. And then your palette knife. Now you will also need your palettes. Look at that. I just wanted to show you that this is my palette, and this is what I use when I paint. The paint sits thick on it, but it is so many memories involved in that and so much history. This is a type of palette that you can get in any art store, and what you do is when you're finished you can peel it off. It's really clever, and I still use those in the studio as well. If we go right back to basics, what I do when I'm doing my paintings is, these are the frames that my brother makes for me. He's a joiner and he makes these beveled edges. Then this is my canvas, which I stretch over and we staple on the back. And this is the first coat of primer. You get primer. You can get primer anywhere as well. I use a lot of primer. So this is the first coat, and this will take a second coat. What that does is, the primer acts just the way when you buy a ready-made canvas that's already primed. And what that does is it just acts as a seal so that the paint can stick onto that. That's what you would do if you're going right back to basics. You need a frame, you need canvas, you need primer, you need a stapler. But for now, all you need is canvas, gloves, clothes, overalls, your palette knives, our subject matter, paint. For the purposes of this video, rather than make our own paint because we're at the beginner stages, we're going to use some Daler-Rowney, and we're going to try, as per our acrylic one, to use just the primary colours or as close to that so that we can really learn to mix colour and to see the vibrancy come to life. But for now, get excited about learning how to paint using oil paints.